Lesson 7. Be reflective if you must be armed. If you carry a weapon in public service, may God bless you and keep you. But know that evils of the past involved policemen and soldiers finding themselves one day doing irregular things. Be ready to say no. This is huge. And he goes on to say authoritarian regimes usually include a special riot police force whose task is to disperse citizens who seek to protest, and a secret police state police force whose assignments include the murder of dissenters or others designated as enemies. This is, again, exactly what ICE has manifested into. 2 U.S. citizens, Renee Good and Alex Preddy, murdered at the hands of ICE because they were dissenting, because they were protesting. And so again, they're seeking out protesters to target. And then I like the way that he framed this, because if you must be armed, right? Be prepared for what that might entail. And I think specifically that last piece, be ready to say no. That seems very clearly directed at policemen, National Guard, military personnel. Be prepared to say no. It is the law to say no to unlawful orders, right? And this is, again, we have an example of this playing out with the strikes in Venezuela on the boats, the double tap on the Venezuelan boats, multiple strikes over there. Unclear if any of those were legitimate strikes that had legitimate cause. And in the case of the double tap, seems to be very clearly an unlawful order that was acted upon. And so then this conversation about being prepared to say no, the constitutional obligation of our military personnel to refuse unlawful orders. I can't imagine how hard it is to do that in that moment, but it is perhaps the most honorable thing a person can be doing right now. When we think of the Nazi Holocaust of the Jews, we imagine Auschwitz and mechanized impersonal death. This was a convenient way for Germans to remember the Holocaust, since they could claim that few of them had known exactly what had happened behind those gates. In fact, the Holocaust began not in the death facilities, but over shooting pits in Eastern Europe. And indeed, some of the commanders of the Einsatzgruppen, the German task forces that perpetrated some of the murders, were tried at Nuremberg and later in West German courts.